Okay, today is going to be our debriefing for the session, and then we're going to have a recap from what we did on Tuesday. We're going to have a recap from each participant, and also we're going to have a recap from the trainer, the overview of the discussion on Tuesday. Then also we look at the key messages to retain, and then we go to the presentation for each group for their assignment. And I want to state that this is it's compulsory. So if a group is not presenting and they submit the assignment, you have submitted assignment, but you have not presented. So there are two scores for each activity. So you can get your full score for assignment, but you might not get a score for presentation. And there's going to be a collation of all this at the end of the training, which leads to who is able to take his or her certificate at the end of the training. This I've been talking about since the first day last week. I've been talking about certificate because I understand how participants at the end of the training, they will now start agitating and submitting all assignments and expect the trainers to now sit back again and start looking at them without even presenting them to the entire group. So that will not work in this session. That's why we had to readjust the time now for everybody to be able to do the group assignment and for you to be able to come online and present your assignment, which is very important. And that's why the session is recorded. Colleague will see it. And especially from what Dorothy spoke to us last on Tuesday, if you are thinking of getting assistance, your organization is thinking of getting further coaching from Collate, then it means that you should do all this work so that they won't check your records and that will neglect your organization. And you know that when they are writing to your organization, you will not be copied. They will write straight to your boss that you did not finish your work on this course, and that might be not too good for you in your workplace. So I encourage everybody to please participate and then be encouraged to do the assignment and ask questions if you cannot. Then the last thing we're going to talk about is preparation on the regulatory framework governing organic farming. And it's interesting because the person that submitted the assignment also said some things and part of what we are going to discuss today. And so I'm looking forward to our presentation, which is also going to correct a lot of notion about regulations that we think that we know about organic farming. And the last thing we're going to talk about is preparation, presentation on the preparation for week 2. What are we to do in preparation for week 2? Okay, so the objective for this session is that this model 1, which we are on and which are doing the debriefing today, is to understand the principle of organic agriculture, which we have done taught about Tuesday. Then know the main motivations and obstacles that influence the conversion to organic farming. We talked about that on Tuesday also. Assess your own value and motivation and barriers to conversion. We talked about that, and that's part of your assignment. Compare your personal values with the principle of organic farming, success, failure of conversion. That is the number 3 of your assignments, which you are going to present today, and understand the regulatory framework governing organic farming, which we will now talk about today. That is why I said that for the quiz, people should not do the quiz because there are questions on the quiz that has to do with the regulatory framework. And if you don't understand it, you might miss the answer. Okay, so we go to the debriefing. What is organic agriculture and principles of organic agriculture? Now, this is a plenary discussion, and the participants, we are all supposed to speak on what is organic agriculture, what are the principles of organic agriculture, what did we learn from last week, Tuesday's session on this topic. So over to you, my colleagues. Mike, you will be the only one to probably might not be able to talk, but you can if you know something. But Samuel, Anna, Sussy, you are all, please unmute yourself, and you are supposed to share 1 or 2 sentences from what you learned on Tuesday. Who is going to start? Summer, over to you. I can see your mom.
Yeah, with the health principle of the agriculture, organic agriculture, with my view, I think health is considered as the main principle, because the end product of the farming that we are doing, we normally sell it to people outside there. We sell it to markets, we sell it to people, they consume it. And if chemicals are being applied to the crops that we sell to them, I'm sure it will affect their health.
Thank you, Summer. Yes, you are very right. The principle of health is the basis, and that's where it talks about the health of the soil, the health of the plants, and then the health of the people, which are going to consume the crops. And like you said, if the health of the soil is compromised, then the health of the people who are going to consume the crops are going to be compromised at the end of the day. So the principle of health is very, very important. And also in the principle of health, when the soil is contaminated, the environment at the end of the day also will be contaminated, the water body will be contaminated, and it's also enlarged at the end of the day means that the SDG goals, some of the SDG goals that we look at will not be able to fulfill the SDG goals in our establishment if the principle of health is not really taken into good consideration. Thank you, Samuel, for that feedback. Anna, over to you. Over to you.
Okay. Good morning once again. I learned something about organic farming, and we said organic farming.
Hello, Hannah. Hello, Hannah.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, please.
We lost you a bit. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. So
yeah,
you can
please.
Hello, Hannah. You can go on. Okay, if Anna is having a challenge, Leslie, do you want to jump in while we wait for Anna?
Please, can you hear me?
Okay, we can hear you now.
Okay. Then we also talked about the principles of organic farmer, which entails being fairness, health, care, and then ecology. And when we talk about the care of principles of organic matter, we also said that is it's a practice which manage the precautionary and responsible manners to protect the health and well-being of current and then future generations. And then when we talk of fairness, the fairness also means leadership should possess honest, be transparent, and then consistence. And then we also talk about the health principle, which means that the health soils produces healthy crops that foster the health of animals and human, yeah. when it comes to the ecology too, that is, we have to maintain our habitats and then the ecosystem as well. So that is what I can say for now.
Thank you, Anna, for the feedback. Looking
right.
at the 4 principles very well: the principle of health, the principle of ecology, the principle of, don't mind the roosters, that's part of principle of ecology, the principle of care, and the principle of fairness. And one thing I said very profoundly is that most times I found a lot of organic farms, they are very good at the principle of health, they are very good on the principle of ecology. But when it comes to the principle of fairness, that's where a lot of organic farmers might be having issues in complying with that principle. Also, they do well in the principle of care. So these 4 principles makes us an organic farmer, makes us to, and that's the principle that guides the standard that is being written all over the world. And that standard is what those regulations, which we're going to look at very soon, is what now determines whether we are doing organic or we are not doing organic. There are 3 levels of organic certification, which we look at in the 3rd week: your word of mouth, the 2nd tier organic, which is for domestic market, and then the 3rd level, which is for the export market. You can claim that you are doing organic, but when you want to do organic as a business, which people are going to buy, which is going to transit from your farm to communities where you cannot be there, then you need certification. You need somebody to assure the other party that what you are producing is actually organic, and you are producing it in a way that it meets the ecological standard that has been set by everybody. So we'll be looking at that in some few weeks from now. So over to you, Godwin. Yes. We'll probably take one more person after Godwin, and then we move on to the session. Godwin, well,
Hello.
yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. That Tuesday, I learned about organic agriculture, how to practice good practicing of producing fruit and vegetables without using chemicals that affect the human health, and they protect the land for long period of, and the health of our local farmers, or even the community that we are involved ourselves in. And I also learned how to help the conventional farmers or how to convince them to divert to organic agriculture, so that they also benefit from maybe international market in so and so form. I think that is what I learned last Tuesday.
Okay, thank you so much for your feedback. So while we're convincing farmers to go into organic agriculture, it's not necessarily first because of the international market. It's because of their health, the health of the farmers themselves. It's important that we keep the generation of farmers that we have for a long time, so that there won't be food shortage. So if a lot of farmers are sick because of the inhaling of this synthetic product, then we're going to have food shortage at the end of the day. So the health of the farmers themselves, the health of their family who helps them on the farm, or their children, are very important. This is the number one importance that we should use to convince farmers to organic. And the truth of the matter is, a lot of them are already doing organic by default, because what they grow, they don't put synthetic inputs on them. They only use natural means to control them. They understand all these things. So we just need to convince them that what they're going for the bigger markets now, they can get premium on it. They can earn more, even from a smaller space, if they do organic. And if they try it and they see the economics of it, then it's easier for them to, it's easier for us to convince them to actually, convert their whole entire farm into organic agriculture. So like we have all said, we looked at what is organic agriculture. We talked about it, that IFARM has a definition. There are other definitions of organic agriculture. FAO has a definition. With WHO, they have a definition. Other and USDA has a definition, but we are sticking to the definition of IFARM, which says organic agriculture is a production system that sustains the health of the people, the soil, the ecosystem, and the people. So that is the definition that we are working with, and we are using, and which COLED is using in their course for organic agriculture. So we look at it and we derive the point out of it and say, can you all see my screen, please?
Yes, please.
Okay, so we look at it and we say that under what is organic agriculture, it does not use chemical, synthetic, pesticide, and fertilizer, which is the big issue that we have. We decide is a big issue that we have in organic, in agriculture, conventional farming. If farmers can be weaned and be taught how to use other methods that will help them not to use synthetic pesticide and fertilizer, then their conversion rates will increase. The conversion rate of many farmers will increase. We say that organic agriculture improves soil fertility. If you use synthetic product over time, you see that your soil will become acidic. It is just normal. Even with your eyes, as in you can look at the soil from when you started and over 2-3 years, how the soil will become very cake when it's dry, and the water penetration will be very low. You can see that when you have rains, there's going to be a lot of erosion, runoff from the surface. The water is not going to sink into it because the organic matter level of the soil is very low. And so it is only organic ingredient that increases the organic matter, the humus level of the soil. The inorganic does not do that. It doesn't increase it. It just goes to the plant. It's like you are feeding the plant. You are not feeding the soil. And when you feed the soil, it goes into the plant. That's why in organic agriculture, as much as there's also a lot of foliar fertilizer, we still encourage the use of compost a lot. Even when you are doing tree crops, we say that you use compost. Why do we say you use, or you do green manuring, or you do cover cropping, so that the residues go back into the soil and then they degenerate and they decompose and then they return all these nutrients back to the soil. Then the crop or the plant picks up this nutrient and it transits into the fruit or into the seed or into the tuber that we are going to eat as humans. So this is why we say that organic agriculture improves soil fertility. We also say that preventive pest and disease management is used in organic agriculture. We don't wait till when we see fall armyworm on maize. We don't wait till we see weevils. We don't wait till we see white flies. We have a preventive management plan. So as an organic farmer, you must have a preventive management plan. Depending on the crop that you're planting, is it every week? Is it every 2 weeks that you prevent you? And then also there's so many things you do in your system that will help you to prevent pests and diseases from coming into your farm. We have what we call the pull and push method. There's so many methods: planting hedges, flowers around, planting hedges with crops that are not readily available, that the insect can hit, that repels them. These are crops that we can plant at the hedges. We can plant flowers at the edges also. All these are things that will help to prevent pests and disease from coming to the main crop that we plant. So we also say that we don't use genetically modified seeds or organisms in organic agriculture. It's a no, 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 no. And that's why the issue of seed was raised a lot on Tuesday, because we found out that most of the seeds, even the hybrid seeds that are coming in, some people are skeptical about it because some of them, they write hybrid on it, but the behavior of those seeds are telling people that it is beyond hybrid, even though hybrid is written on it. So the principles of organic agriculture, like I said before, the 4 principles of organic agriculture, which majority of those who talked about: the principle of health, the principle of ecology, the principle of care, the principle of fairness. Under the principle of care, we see that organic agriculture uses traditional knowledge and innovation and scientific knowledge. It's not static, it's evolving. That is why a lot of practices are evolving in organic agriculture. You learn this, after some time, somebody will discover another method of preparing a particular pest repellent, or another method of preparing a good fertilizer, and then the knowledge keeps evolving. And then there's a lot of research that is going on by our researchers, and that are making us to understand that what we can use, how we can use them in organic agriculture. The principle of fairness, like I said, a lot of people do not do well on the principle of fairness. The principle of fairness, fair share to all market partners. A lot of organic practitioners, for the local market, they want to sell the produce on a high scale because they're doing organic, and organic doesn't mean that it has to be very expensive. For the export market, what makes the price expensive is because of the certification. The certification is very expensive. When we got to the 3rd week, we understand the certification cost, why it is expensive and things like that. So, but for the local market, organic don't really have to be too expensive that you look at the gap between the conventional produce and the organic produce, and the average person cannot consume it. If we want everybody to consume organic products, then the prices has to be reasonable. Also, in the principle of fairness, how do we treat our workers? Do we give them enough time to rest? Do we encourage them? Do we let them learn on the job and things like that? These are many practices are what our organic agriculture is all about. Okay, then we went on to talk about the sustainable aims. You can be practicing organic agriculture and you might not be sustainable. They are 2 different things. A lot of people try to say, I am organic farmer, and that means I am a sustainable farmer. No, the practices that you use inside your establishment as an organic farmer will determine whether you are sustainable or you are not sustainable. And the 3 aims of sustainability: you have the economic aim, you have the ecological aim, you have the social aim. You can be successful ecologically, you can be successful economic-wise, but you might not be successful socially. For example, a farm that is solely responsible, its product is responsible for the export market, is not socially sustainable, because you are selling all your produce for the export market. But the social aim says that we must be regionally self-sufficient in foodstuff. So while you're growing your avocado, while you're growing your papaya, while you're growing your banana, pineapple for the export market, you need to incorporate in that same field products or produce that the local environment, your community eats, so that your workers, your family, your community can feed on organic produce. So this way, we'll be self-sufficient in foodstuff for the region or for the community. And you'll be fulfilling local needs, and you'll be saving your rural community. Okay. Any other question or comments before we go to the next debriefing? Comments, feedback? Hello? Hello?
Hello, I think you're on track. I'm happy for the first time anyway.
Okay. If you ask for feedback and you're not responding, because it's an online training, it's an indication maybe the person is not there. So when we call names and you are not answering, or we say feedback, you're not answering, it's suggesting to us as trainers that you have just logged on, but you are not with us. So, and that way, the fact that we see your name appearing does not mark attendance at all. That's why we keep calling names throughout the session so that you respond, and then it tells us that you are there. And that's, like I said on Tuesday, attendance, the full attendance is given at the end of the training, not in the middle, not at the beginning, because we'll keep calling names, we'll keep asking that participants please respond, and that's way we could know whether the person is online or doing other stuff. So any other question on what is organic agriculture? Feedback is welcome, please, before we move on to the next debriefing. Okay, Samuel, please go ahead.
Yeah, please. I had a problem with the network. I was then answering the question and the network went off.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you still want to answer the question?
Yeah, I still want to continue. I don't think what I gave you is enough for you with the explanations. I just want to continue a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so we go on to the second sequence that we looked at. We looked at human factors to converting to organic agriculture. We look at the different human factors, and we saw that we have different levels of human factors to converting, why people are converting, why people are not converting. We talked about it, that when people are converting and the factors are positive, we say that their motivation, it's motivating them to convert to organic agriculture. But when the factors are negative, we say they are barriers, they are stumbling block. These are things that is not making people to convert easily to organic agriculture. So we look at right now our presentation, and from the assignments, we have 6 groups, and each group is supposed to present. So let me know if your group is here. Leslie, you are in group 4. And Samuel, you are in group 1. I'm trying to pick the names for people that I know that are here. Columbus, you are in group 1 also. So
sure.
So I'm sure group 1 is here. I'm sure group 3 is here. That's Samuel. I'm sure group 4 is here. Group 5, they actually sent a chat to me, an SMS, saying that that's biotropical. They had heavy rain, that it's raining in Ghana yesterday in most places, and they had heavy rain at their site, and their electricity poles went down, and right now there's no electricity, and their network is very bad, so they won't be able to join. Chido is in group 1 also, and she's saying she has a meeting, but Michael is here also from their farm, from Fatch. So group 6, which is Maflix. Is Maflix here? Is anybody from Maflix here?
Yes, please, I'm the one.
Okay, Anna. That's Anna.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys called late, and I was expecting Abdul to be here.
He's busy small, so I'll talk to him to come and do the presentation.
Okay. So who is going to hit the button? Who is ready to start the presentation? Leslie, do you want to start? Samuel, do you want to start? Who wants to start? Let's go for it.
Maybe we can start.
Okay, good. Thank you, Columbus.
Good afternoon, everybody. I think from our understanding of the question, we're supposed to look at the motivation and the obstacles that we listed in our individual assignments, and then link them to the principles. The principles of organic farming is encapsulated by IPOM. So what we came up with was the issue of the motivations themselves. We looked at the issue of getting premium prices for the produce as one of the motivations. And we actually linked it to the principle of fairness in that after putting all the hard work, the farmer still has to earn a fair share of the price for the market for the produce, which is profitable. So we're saying if they get a premium price for the produce, then it means it's actually fairness has actually been established in that respect. Then we also looked at the issue of one of the motivations being the healthy produce, which is free of synthetic fertilizer and chemicals or chemical residues. And we linked it to the principle of health and principle of ecology at the same time. In that when you're producing organic food, it means you are doing away with synthetic chemicals and fertilizers and also unsustainable practices. This promotes the health of the soil, which also benefits the soil biota and the environment itself. And in turn, the soil produces a healthy crop, which is healthy for the users, for the community, or for the people who consume the food. And we also looked at the the environmental aspect, the improvement of the environment, in which we'll be working with in organic farming. And we looked at the principle of ecology. That's where we linked it to. We say that ecologically, we are sustaining the environment, and we are preventing things like soil erosion. We are preserving soil moisture. We are controlling water and reducing runoff and making sure the water is actually sinks in, and thereby we actually, when the water is sunk in, it means we've improved our water tables, which means even during the dry seasons or drying periods, we also have adequate water for irrigation and for onward use as well. Then we also looked at the costs of the inputs. We're saying there's lower cost of inputs for production. And in this respect, we were looking at on-farm manufacture of compost or inputs, fertilizers, and we're also looking at the insect repellents and also the growing of legumes for nitrogen fixation into the soils and crop rotation as well. So we looked at these actually linking to the principles of fairness, to the environment, to the soil biota, to the people themselves, in that in terms of cost, a lot of saving has been made in terms of input costs as resources actually reserved for other uses to the community. Then we looked at because the costs are low, it means it's fair for everybody involved. And at the same time, we are actually working on the ecological aspect and caring for the ecology as well, caring for the soils, caring for the beneficial insects that are not being killed by the chemicals. We're looking at the pull factors of maybe we put in the intercropping with flowers or crops that actually attract beneficial insects. And also at the same time, we've got the push factors as well that we put in by putting in some crops into the ground we've got insects which are being repelled from the fields as well. Then we also spoke of the use of locally available resources, and we linked it to the principle of ecology. We are saying we are recycling all the waste which is produced on the farm, and as a result, we actually preserving everything that we have. We've got no waste, and there's an interlinkage in the overall picture in that one waste or a waste for a particular from a particular section is actually used elsewhere. Like if you've got excess vegetables from the garden, probably they are used to feed cattle, or they are used to feed chickens, or they are put into the vermicompost. Then at the same time, the output from the vermicompost or from the cattle, we are going to use the manure in making my compost. The vermicompost, we are using it as a fertilizer in the field. So the cycle continues. So there's no need for us to use or to waste money buying in other inputs, but use those that are available. So these are the what we actually had for the on the motivations. Then we go on to the obstacles. One of the major obstacles is the perception or the notion that it is expensive to produce organically. And we linked this to the principle of fairness, in that whilst people believe that it is expensive, but from what we've picked up from the motivation, like the use of available resources, the local available resources, we'll find that it touches, of course, the notion actually touches on the principle of fairness, that it's unfair to use that it's expensive. But now, when we really look at it, we see that obstacle can actually be turned into an advantage as more and more resources are saved when we produce locally. Then the other factor that we noted as an obstacle is the issue of the long turnaround time. That it takes very long for one to be certified organic and also to be able to produce the correct quality of produce. So this one, we have seen that we have linked it to fairness and health. Right. In terms of health, we are saying, why else do we need the healthy food now? We need the soil, the health soils now. The transition or the conversion is not done overnight. So it hinders on the principle of health, and also hinders on the principle of actually fairness, because we want fair prices now, we want good prices, we want everything, all good conditions now, but we cannot get them at that instant because of the turnaround time. Then also, we looked at another obstacle that it involves hard work. There's a lot of work involved in the conversion processes because there are principles that need to be adhered to and maintained. So we have seen that this one now can have an impact on the health, that whilst you are in the process of all this, you're working so hard, your health could actually be affected negatively. Ecologically, it's not going to happen overnight as well, because a restoration of the soil or institution of sustainability does not happen overnight. So it takes a lot of time as well. And we also looked at the obstacle of the lack of certified organic seed, or the guarantee that the seed the seed is actually organic, in that it affects the ecological aspect, that the seed is dressed with certain chemicals that are not permissible, and it's difficult for us to know now how to really handle that. So it affects us on the principle of ecology. Then lastly, I'll talk of the notion that there is low yields. Right. And in the initial stages, definitely there is a dip in the yield, or in the production yield. So what it means is there is inadequate food, so it affects the health. And also the build-up process really takes a lot of effort on the ecological part as well, because it's going to take a long time to establish a soil balance or the environmental balance. Thank you.
Oh my God. I am so happy for the work that you have done. It's really fascinating to me how you have gone, you understood, the group understood the question. You were able to work with the question correctly. You were able to give the motivations and the barriers for each principle. You were able to look at your establishment and not from the outside, and be able to really diagnose your establishment and look at those points, even though you are three different organizations. I'm really impressed at the level of your work that you have done. It's an excellent work. It's excellent presentation also. It's excellent presentation also. So I am impressed. I love it. Just a quick
Thank you, ma'am.
note. When you talked about the long term of producing organically during conversion, and that's why for export markets, the rule says 3 years. And so even in that 3 years that you are converting to organic market for the export market, that is why there's provision for the domestic market. And that's what we'll be looking at in the third week. We'll be talking about the certification for the domestic market and for the export market. So there's certification for the domestic market, which is your local market, which even some of you, like East Africa now, they have a regional trade within the East Africa countries, which they use one logo for that, with their one standard, and they trade whatever is certified as organic within the East African corridor. Other countries also have their own standard, and there's cross trading and within the regions also. So we'll be looking at that and we'll be discussing that in details. But I want to say here that when you're converting, you go and take the local certification for the domestic market, because some of the standards are still manageable. Some says 2 years, some says 1 year, some says 3 years or so, depending on the products that you're doing. And then they look at your history also, and not just say 3 years, but they look at the history. What have you done before? What have you been using on those land before? So they look at the history, and then they have what we call, like us in Ghana, the local certification for Ghana, we have the transition certificate. So even while you are converting, we give you the transition certificate, which helps you to sell at a particular premium, even though it might not be fully organic, but you are able to sell, and we communicate that to the consumers that you are transiting, you are moving from conventional gradually to organic. And that's why you have this particular type of certificate. They are sealed, their logo, everything is different from the full organic certification. And so the farmers are encouraged that even though they are transiting, they are not selling at the conventional price. They are selling at a little premium, but not as high as full organic. So we'll be discussing in details about those avenues in week 3. Thank you so much once again for Columbus for presenting. Okay, we look at the next person, group 4, Leslie. And so, okay, before you go on, Leslie, so please, each person should submit what you have presented now. Each person should put it in their own number 3 of their assignment, and then upload it into the e-learning platform, because each person will be marked. Even though you have worked in a group, you have presented, all of you now have scored for presentation, but for submission, it is individual. So please go ahead and submit on the e-learning platform. Thank you. Leslie, group 4. Oh, Columbus, okay. Hold on, Leslie. Columbus, you raise your hand.
Sure, thank you. I just wanted to find out, are we just going to put this as a Word document, then we upload it, or how are we going to submit it?
So the assignment is a Word document. We made it a Word document so that it's easy for you to download and just type into it, and then you save on your devices, and then you upload as a Word document back. so that if there's any correction and we grade it, we can ask you to revisit that particular aspect. So that's why it's a Word document. So don't bother to PDF it. It's okay by Word document.
Thank you.
All right. So Leslie, let's go over to you.
Okay, so from what we understood, we were to list the activities on our farm under the principles of organic agriculture. So under the principle of health, what we have under is avoiding chemical inputs that affect health. So we are not using chemical fertilizers or weedicides because in the end it's affecting the health of both the soil and then the plants or the food being produced, which in turn will affect the health of consumers. So that's one thing we are doing in the principle of health. And doing that also give our buyers the confidence that we are producing healthy, nutritious foods. We also process these foods. So making sure that our products are dried processed products are healthy by giving our buyers that confidence. Since we are doing organic, we are not using chemical inputs, being it fertilizers or weedicides. And under the principle of ecology, what we do on our farms that falls under this principle is protecting the soil. As we are not using these chemical inputs, we are protecting the soil from harsh chemicals. And this is also protecting the soil and then the whole ecology in general, because the soil is being protected from harsh chemicals, the component, the organic matter is being preserved, then the soil has its own natural composition such that it's not affected by erosion and is able to retain water and other natural chemicals that the plants will need. And we also make use of mulching materials on the soil. So these mulching materials protect the soils from harsh conditions like the sun and heavy rains, and they also decompose in the end to increase the organic matter of the soil. And also under the same principle of ecology, we also use natural manure and composting. So this also in the end increase the fertility of the soil, and at the end it also helps with the whole ecosystem. Under the principle of fairness, what we do from our organization, because as a group, sorry, I have a loud background. Sorry.
Yes, I'm already apologizing to the class. I understand where you are. So we are sorry, everybody.
Yes,
So,
it's a process in place.
Yeah, I know. Sorry about that, everyone. Please go on.
Okay, so under the principle of fairness, we get to have premium for our outgrowers. Aside our farm, we also have outgrowers, local outgrowers, rural farmers who are also give us products. So they are also incorporated into the organic system, and in the end, the outgrower farmers are able to get premium based on what they produce. And they are also being incorporated into the organic system, so they are also learning. With a regular interaction with them, it's also a form of respect to the local farmers. We regularly interact with them, we educate them, and they're also being part of the organic system. So in all, we categorize that also under the principle of fairness. And they also get a fair share of what is being produced, because at the end of the year, they're able to make premiums of what they have produced for us. And then under the principle of care, generally the food produced are healthy without chemicals, and there are no GMOs. So we believe that based on this activity, we are also doing something, or these activities also fall under the precautionary principle or the principle of care. So this is what we came out with. This from what we have two people, myself and Godwin. We were not able to contact Lakeside. There was no response. So this is what we have from what Godwin and myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie, for presenting. It's also it's good that you mentioned to us that Lakeside, Lakeside did not join you in this work because we will have assumed that it's what is also happening on their establishment. But one thing that we didn't see from your hand is that you didn't tell us the barriers. You see, as much as there are a lot of motivation for doing organic, there are still barriers even with your establishment. I know your farmers, you struggle with them and things like that. These are barriers. How it takes time to convince them, how you have to keep checking and checking and checking that to ensure that they don't compromise. These are barriers. So you also
yes, sure.
Yeah.
I think, as I said, what I understood, what we understood from the question was activities that we do that fall under the 4 principles. That is what we understood from the question.
Yes. So activities that you do, and also activities that is currently going on, which are barriers. So the ones that you are doing are motivation for conversion. But the ones that you have not done, but they are supposed to be under each principles, those are the barriers that you have to talk about. So you can just mention a few ones under the barriers, and then you can resubmit it. I know you submitted before, you can resubmit it, and then Godwin also should go ahead and submit. And like I said, it's individual. Thank you for your presentation. In fact, I gave you a high score because you were the first person that submitted. That was like an encouragement that as at the time I was checking yesterday evening, you are the first person that I saw that has actually submitted online. Thank you for doing the work. Even with a short timing, you sat down and you were able to do this work. And one thing that you had in your assignment, which I've written down that I said I would discuss about it today, is that you wrote there in one of the answers under government support that there is government support for organic agriculture in Ghana. And being in the sector for over 10 years, I mean, for 10 years I've been in Ghana. I've been in the sector for 10 years. I want you to explain to me what you mean about the support you have from the government and the regulations that is available for organic agriculture for the domestic markets for Ghana, because I have a contrary opinion, and so I want to hear from you.
Okay, so what I wrote was standards are established. So what I meant by that is we have fair trade coming around on our farms and even on our outdoor farms to inspect yearly. So that is what association with fair trade isn't under government. Then I don't know of any other regulations.
So, well, we're going to talk about regulations. That's the last thing we're going to talk about today. And you see that fair trade is a private regulation, and it's not even like organic. It is just a regulation that is ecological, or social, ecological and social, but it is not an organic regulation. And fair trade is not regulated by the government of Ghana. It is an international regulation. And even though fair trade has an office here in Ghana, but it is not the government of Ghana that is regulating it. It's an international regulation. So all the standard, all the information, the way to check you and everything comes from the international office, even though they have a local office here. So I told myself that we'll talk more about that when we go through the regulations anyway. So thank you again for the presentation.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Thank you. So the last person is group 6, Netflix. Anna Abdul, who is presenting, please. Columbus, you have your hand raised. Columbus, you have your hand raised. Can you unmute yourself?
Sorry, it was I raised it long back before you gave me the chance to speak. Now I didn't put my hand down. Let me organize that.
Okay, I've done that for you, don't worry. That's fine.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so over to group 6. Over to group 6. Now I can see Dennis is here. Dennis, which group are you? Are you under group 2, Zimbabwe Farmers Union? Hello? Hello, Dennis? Hello, Dennis?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, so I'm under group 2.
You're under group 2. Are you
Yes.
Are you going to present on behalf of group 2?
Yeah, in the absence of other colleagues, I think I can do that.
So after group 6, then you are going to present. Is that okay? Okay, thank you. So group 6, Anna, we're waiting for you. Anna Abdul, Fuseni, you are all in group 6. Anna, can you go ahead? Or you guys are not ready to present anymore? Hello, Fuseni? Anna? Okay, if group 6 is not ready to present or they are not going to present, we'll strike that out. And then we move on to group 2. Group 2, over to you, please. Dennis, over to you. You can go ahead with your presentation.
Well, okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Just for clarification, can you come again on the question here to present? Hello.
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 Can you speak to the mic or move closer to the mic of your device?
Yeah, I think my device is having some challenges. Can you hear me?
So, and you are the only one available to present?
Yes, some colleagues failed to attend due to some commitments.
Okay, just go ahead. Let's hear, because there's a mark for presentation. So if you do not present, then you have that 100 marks go away. So let's just try your network the way it is. Whatever we hear, we'll manage it.
It's okay. So I will present on behalf of group 2. In case my network might go back, or you might fail to hear me. Let me know, but I can hear you clearly. I don't know what's happening on my side. So I'll be presenting on behalf of Zimbabwe Farmers Union, which is basically a farmer union group, which forms farmers from different farming backgrounds and different scale and categories and operations. And of these farmers, we besides these farmers, we have some pieces of land that we manage as an organization, and some of the farmers are outgrowers to our operations. And the issue of organic farming is a topical issue that has been being discussed amongst members from different sectors and different farmers in the country. And we also been trying to have our farmers then use to be part of this organic farming movement. So in terms of that one, well, I would start with the importance of organic agriculture, and what I can say is of us as an organization and all the outgrowers that are under us. Everyone knows and understand what organic agriculture is, but according to the definition that I've seen here, there are some of the issues that we were not knowing, which came out to be new to us. The issues to do with fair trading, the issue to do with care. What we knew or what we thought organic agriculture was only in terms of no usage of chemical fertilizers, chemical pesticides, and herbicides, and the issues to do with sustainable farming, that is growing trees, using resources that are available into your local. Those are the only issues that we understood. So there's also some information gap in terms of what is organic farming to our farmers, and in terms of market respondents, again, to say, is the market managed to put in structures and prices that promote or influence the change from the inorganic farming ways to organic farming ways? There hasn't been much movement from that, except for export market, and in the local market, a few customers again are selecting these organic products, and some are not even labeled products. So these are some of the challenges that we come up within our farmers. Is for how we can move with information gap on what exactly is it, and the issues to do with the market, the customers. Again, we haven't seen much of the appetite from the local market, except for the export market. And when we are looking at the export market, we then look at the certification cost. So no one is prepared for that cost, and then it dies a natural death. No one will implement that one else. So these are some of the challenges, and I think some of them have been highlighted by previous speakers. The issues with yield. Farmers, they just know if they put on their inorganic fertilizers and their chemicals, they are going to have increased yields. Now they are now doing it natural way. So that reduction in yield, and looking at the economy right now, no one is prepared for that loss. So it's a huge task that we have to go through to motivate and convince everyone to be part of it. But in terms of perception, everyone knows and understands, and due to some health reasons, that organic farming is the way to go, because they produce healthy and safe food, which are in line with health recommendations from different practitioners in the health sector. And in terms of teaching our outgrower farmers on the organic agriculture, I think we have been doing that. But as I said earlier, to say some of the issues we didn't know about them, so the fair trading and the care part, that's one information gap, which is very huge, which we are also grateful that we managed to get here. I think from this short one, this is what I can do on behalf of Group 2. Thank you.
Thank you so much for presenting. You see, a lot did not come online today because of presentation. People think, I don't want to present and things like that. It's just sharing. Now, Zimbabwe Farmers Union, at least even from the presentation today, you've been able to pick one or two things. From what we discussed already, you have already seen some of the things that you are not doing that you need to implement in your. So it's more of participation and listening and working together than the fact that, oh, it's just presentation, because I have not done it, or I don't know how to speak, or I will not come online. So we are helping each other because we want to have a bigger community of organic farmers in Africa. And so if we don't help each other, if we don't do knowledge sharing, which is a very key factor of organic, and which is also one of the barriers in organic conversion, because the knowledge is not traveling down to the people that needs it, to the real farmers that needs to convert. So if we are not sharing on the different platforms or avenues that is available, then we will not be able to have enough farmers to grow organic food for the local market and for the export market. Thank you for presenting on behalf of the Zimbabwe Farmers Union. And please, like I said, I'm glad that you are able to identify the problems already from this, even from week 1. And that is, it's not about the mark that you will get, but looking at it critically and being able to identify those challenges. And now you now start thinking how you are going to be able to walk through those challenges in your pre-establishment. That is a good plus for me for feedback from what I'm hearing from you. So please, each person should put that assignment into their personal work that they have done, and then submit on the e-learning platform so that you can get your grade for assignment. So Anna and Fuseni, are you people there, or we should move on because we have limited time right now?
Yeah, they are all busy.
So it means you are not presenting, and it means that the mark for presentation is out. That is it. You can submit, you get the grade for submission, but for presenting, because I can read, but what you will say will be more than what you are written down. I can read and give comments and grade it, but also the other participants will not hear what you have put down. They will not see it. And then also they will not hear you. They will not learn from you. And you have learned from them. That is why it is presentation for everybody to hear and not just submitting the assignment. Okay, so we move on and then we look at. So if you're still ready before the end of the session, yes, we still have 30 minutes. So just let me know before the end of the session. You can drop a chat when they are ready to present, okay? So we have to move on right now. All right.
Okay,
so
I have something small to say. Since they are not there, no, it's not enough, but I'll try my best to say something.
Okay. Or do you want to wait for them and then you can get them? We still have some minutes.
As for Abdul, he said he's having a network problem. He cannot even the Zoom, no cry. He's not accessing it. He's not able to access it. I just spoke to him.
Okay. So you go ahead. Whatever you learned, yeah.
Whatever I've learned.
Yeah, that's
okay. All right. Please, it's about the obstacles in organic farming, what I have learned. And then the one thing I've observed is that production yields are lower compared to conventional grown food. And then also lack of awareness. I'm talking about the obstacles among lack of awareness among farmers about organic farming. Most farmers normally don't practice the organic way of farming, so which is affecting the health of the people in the country. So I think if we give the farmers education on how to use organic produce in production, it will also help us. And then also our marketing and then the pricing. Marketability of organic produce over conventional produce must be assured. When you are producing to the market, either our local or the export levels, the pricing of our produce also matters a lot. And this
Hello, Hannah. We lost you.
Hello.
Okay, you're back.
Hello. Yeah, please, my network is not all that good here. I'm at the farm.
Okay.
Yeah. So like I said, the prices also matters here. And then the next point is shortage of biomass in soil. That is, we don't have enough essential nutrients in the soil because of the inorganic compounds we are using in farming, which is affecting productivity. So at the end of the day, you get lower yields. And then we should also be able to meet rising demand for more food and higher quality of produce. And then the barriers in organic farming is like lack of knowledge. If you don't have the lack of knowledge in organic farming, you will end up not getting anything at the end of the day. And also, some farmers are also facing support from governments. Maybe I want to go into farming and I'm not having the money to be able to raise whatever I want in the farming. So if government should come into our aid, it will also enhance us to produce more to the markets.
Okay.
So
can you round
yeah.
up?
Pardon?
I said, can you round up, please?
All right, sir. So for me, this is what I have learned so far and to present.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what you have presented, you've
Mm.
not linked it to the principles of the four principles of organic agriculture. So you as a company now, the four of you from your company, you need to sit down and then all of you come together and link the barriers and the motivation to the principles of organic. Which motivation are the things that you are doing that are helping you to convert already. Those ones, you link them to the four principles. You don't have to feel all the principles. There are some principles, maybe you are not doing it. It doesn't matter. Then you look at the barriers that you have in your establishment. Then you link them to the four principles. If you don't have a barrier under fairness or care, it doesn't matter. You can leave it blank, but you must be able to at least fill some of it and leave others blank, if that is the case for your establishment. Because this is going to transit to your next assignment in week 2. It's going to transit to your next assignment in week 3. So it's going to be a follow-up from week 1 assignment to week 2 to week 3, and to your final presentation in week 4. So you can't jump to week 4 to present, and then you have not done week 1, or you did not feel what you are supposed to feel in week 1, and you are quoting it in week 4. We will not be able to accept that. So you guys, the 4 of you, sit down and do that assignment properly and submit. You still have to, everybody has till Sunday to submit. Another week starts on Monday, and then I will not be able to mark after Monday again. So Sunday is the last day for this week. So please go ahead and submit your assignment for the week. Okay, we move on now and we quickly look at the challenges to overcome in order to successfully convert to organic agriculture. Committing to organic agriculture requires sacrifice. There's a lot of sacrifice, there's a lot of determination. Like organic agriculture farming, it's a lifestyle, it's an inner thing. It has to do with your mind. That is why we looked at the factors on Tuesday, and we talk about cycle, which has to do with the brain. It has to do with your inner self. It's something that comes from within. It's not just because I want to make money or because I want to farm or there's premium or there's high price. No, organic farming goes beyond that. If you are not convinced from your inside that you want to do it, when you have obstacles, it will stop you from actually going on in organic farming. Then we have technical challenges, adoption of modern production processing. Okay, one of the participants was talking that, it looks like the course is focusing on production, and their organization is a processor. And I told her, and I said, if you do not get production correctly, you cannot have processed organic products. Wad, Godwin, and Leslie, am I correct with what I'm saying? Because you are also a processor.
Yes, you are correct.
So if your production line is not good, if you are not getting enough farmers to produce organic for you, if you are not following up with the farmers and they are doing, they are putting synthetic product inside, you as a processor can never claim organic. And the way processors are, you must have, first of all, have certification of your farmers. Your farmers must have certificates showing that their production is organic. then you will take those products and take it to your processing unit, and then you go and process it to whatever product you want to process it, and then you will not take certification for the processing unit also, but you must show the producer's certificate before you can have a certificate for the processing unit. So it's a link that is indivisible. So if you think that, oh, the cost is just talking about production, is not focusing on you, that you are a processor. If you don't have full understanding of production, you will not be able to manage your processing units very well for organic production. And that is where the technical challenges comes in. There are lots of technical challenges from the field to the processing unit. There are a lot of things that for the processing unit, for processors, some of the ingredients they use, they are not acceptable in organic agriculture. Some of the additives are not acceptable. Some of the additives, they are acceptable in a very small quantity. So you need to look at the standard, which we'll be talking about in the standard that you are producing with. What are the materials that is acceptable? What are the materials that is not acceptable? All these are what you must understand before you go into to be a processor under organic agriculture. Then we have the economic challenges. If you are going to convert to organic, there are a lot of money that is involved, because you need to change a lot of setup. You need to change, you need to train. Training involves money. This training, for example, is free from college, but it is not free because it's the money from donors, from some taxpayers of some people that are putting money. So in a nutshell, it's not free. We think it's free, but it's not free, quote. So the economic challenges, how visible is even your project? Have you done your visibility studies? Do you know how much you're going to be able to sell it locally or internationally if you produce? What's the quantity that you will get? Putting the quantity with the price, are you going to be economic viable? What are the number of staffs that you need? All these are the economic challenge that is involved, and each establishment has to do it. There's no global information about, oh, if you are producing avocado, this is what you are going to get, everybody. No. So depending on your country will determine your profit at the end of the day, because our tax regimes also are different. So we also look at the social and cultural challenges. There's so many cultural challenges. There's so many norms from different communities. There's so many expectations. There's so many things that barrier that meets information, wrong information perspectives that people have invited in their heart towards organic agriculture. That is not promoting, or that is discouraging people from going into organic agriculture. So these are the three main challenges areas, but it's wide, it's big. So if you are converting to organic agriculture, you need to look at these challenges and then be able to point according to your establishment. What are the challenges that we have technically? What are the challenges that we might face economically? What are the challenges that we are facing currently socially? Because with all this information, you'll be able to plan your conversion, or you'll be able to move gradually towards organic agriculture. So when we talk about social and cultural factors in organic agriculture conversion under human factors, there are some questions we need to ask ourselves. What are my personal vision and goal for organic production? Your vision and your goal will drive your establishment. The vision of your boss, the owner of the establishment, you need to understand his vision. The vision will determine whether there's need to go into organic or there's no need to go into organic, because your vision and your goals will state if it is ecologically friendly establishment or practices that you want to encourage in your organization. This will tailor you and the workers and the stakeholders to start pursuing your conversion into organic agriculture. And some of the questions I've written there, there's so many other questions. What are my expectations for organic production? What do I need what do I need to succeed in organic production? You need to be able to itemize all this. What do I need as an organization, or even as a worker in my organization? Do I need more knowledge? Do I need to write to my boss and say, I need more knowledge in organic agriculture? I need knowledge in this aspect of organic agriculture. We have pests, we have weed management, we have land preparation. You know, there are different stages, there are different knowledge for different stages. Do you have a vision for my operation of the future? Do I know, or do I have a vision of how it's going to look in the future? I'm just doing it. Everybody's doing organic, and there's money in the export market for organic. That's why we are doing it. This information, when you are able to write it down, this point, it will help you to be able to plan for your conversion. A conversion is a process, like I said on Tuesday, and you need to plan for it adequately. Also, motivating factor for adoption of and conversion to organic. One of the major one that we have talked about today is the environmental belief. Health is one of the major reasons a lot of people convert to organic agriculture, because we know that it is safer. The organic products are safer for people to consume. They are safer even for the environment, because they are less toxic that is being transferred into the environment. Then we look at the technical aspect, the soil problem, the animal health. There's information about training. There's little information, but there's still a lot of information that is lacking. Then support and favorable opinion of the environment, family, community. These are motivation. If the family, if the community, if all the farmer group are deciding together that we want to do organic, then everybody will be motivated to go into organic approach, and you can be able to help each other. But if you are a farmer and you are doing organic, your next neighbor is not doing organic, there will be cross-contamination from his or her farm to your farm. Okay. Also, we look at the economic factor. There is more money when you do organic. There is a premium on it. There's premium price on organic because of what we do, because it's labor intensive, because we are not polluting the environment. So in conventional farming, the cost of polluting the environment is not factored into the cost of production. But in organic farming, we put into the production cost. The cost, because we are using human labor, that cost is being incurred, and then you have to factor that to be able to get your produce. In some countries, there's subsidies for organic farmers. We know in some part of Africa, we don't have subsidies. But the more numbers we have, the more farmers that turn into organic farming, then we can approach the government of each country, and then they can hear our voice, because they want to see numbers, actually. Then ideological conviction challenges makes people to say that they want to go into organic agriculture. Market factor, like I've said, premium price, increased revenue for your organization, motivation to market products, because you can have a certification. You can show your certificate that I'm an organic farmer. By doing some practices, even putting it, you have a website and saying or doing a video or some of the practices that you are doing on your farm, encourages buyers to say, oh, this is an eco-friendly farm. Then we can buy from them. Then we can work with them. Then we can eat their product. These are things that motivate people to buy your product. Factors favorable for conversion. We've talked about, we're just going to interest of the farmer. The interest of the farmer is very important. The farmers must be ready to learn. The good level of education, the history of the compost. You have understanding about composting. That is very low to moderate use of pesticide, no pesticide. We still use pesticide, but we use natural pesticide. Existing market and trade relationship, relatively good economics of the farm. That is why we have organic association in each country, in each community. We have organic farmers association, so that people can come together, they can sell together, and then they can make money from what they are producing. Okay, factors not favorable for conversion. There are a lot of factors that are not favorable for conversion. Lack of proper information and assistance is one of the issue. Need for investment, you need money. To be able to put money into organic production, you need some capital. Specific production problem, if you pest for particular crop, if you're having that issue over time. It can discourage people from converting into organic. Difficult production with high use of input, because when you formulate, you have to formulate, if you are formulating by yourself, you have to formulate larger volume of pesticide, for example, natural pesticide. People don't have time to do that anymore. So they prefer to buy. And even when you want to buy, there's little or no knowledge about where to buy all these organic inputs. Some are not even readily available for that crop in your country. And so it has to be imported into your country, and you might not even get where to. And then cost of certification. Cost of certification is not cheap, whether for local market or for export to market. For local market is relatively very cheap compared to the export market. Export market, your certification is not cheap at all. And so these are barriers for converting into organic agriculture. Then for the processors, lack of farmers willing to convert. If you don't have a large volume or numbers of farmers, for you to be a processor, it will be difficult because you need volumes to process and for you to be able to get your certification on it. Then packaging materials that are suitable for organic. A lot of the packaging materials we use in Africa, a lot of them are not suitable for organic production. You have to import, and those ones, when you import them into your countries, it increases it's high cost of production. And if you're selling at the local market, a lot of people might not be able to buy it. But if you are exporting it, you know you get your premium on it. Then consumer preferences is also sometimes a lot of consumers, they don't even know what is organic. They don't. So their preference determine whether farmers will convert into organic. Do they want organic food? Do they not want organic food? This will determine whether farmers will go into organic. And then we need conversion, planning for conversion. It is in 4 stages. You have the knowledge phase, which you have to acquire knowledge. You have the goal description phase. You need to set your goal. That is why I said that conversion, it's a process. You have to plan for it. If you're already converting, you need to sit down. What are the things that we have done? What are the things that we need to do in short term? What are the things we need to do in medium term? What are the things we need to do in the long term? You need to plan everything on paper, and then you can utilize it. Then the strategy. What are the strategies that we need to employ to be able to achieve our goal? And then the realization phase. The realization phase is when you now come back. You have been practicing the knowledge phase. You have been implementing the knowledge that you have gotten. Your goals, you have written them down. You are pursuing your goal. You are putting all those strategies into place. The realization phase is after a time, you come back, you do evaluation. Are we actually meeting all these goals? Are we actually So, Samuel, you asked a question. This PowerPoint is going to be in the first one we use on Tuesday is already on the e-learning platform. So your PowerPoint will always be for every training that we do, will always be on the e-learning platform. And there are a lot of materials also on the e-learning platform for the course that you need to download, read at your own convenience. So there are a lot of information there that you will be able to utilize. Okay. Factor to consider when starting an organic production, when you are converting. Your farm gate price is one thing that is very, what are you going to, how much are you going to sell in the first year, in the second year, in the third year? You need to put this in place. You need to factor into it your education about certification and the cost of your certification. Determine the volume that you need to sell to get that projection of profits that you have put on paper. What is the volume? So you need to increase your capacity of product. You need to increase your production capacity, whether you need to lower your production capacity. All this will determine when you have your plan in place. Then you need to secure your local government tolerance, because some government areas, you need to let them know that there's an organic farm established there, so that when there is issues about cross pollution, you'll be able they will be able to know that there's an organic establishment. So there are certain things that cannot happen in this environment, or you want to establish yourself organic farm, you have not started. You need to ask, is this an area that I can establish an organic farm? Is it an area that there won't be one big industry at the end of the day. So that is why you need to seek government approval. Then know the certification requirements. You need to know the certification requirements that you need for which country, for which market. So these are important. As a processor, you need to identify organic farmers that are willing to convert. Not all farmers are willing to convert to organic. You need to be able to identify them, put them together, train them over time. So as a processor, you're going to spend more because you're going to train your farmers to be able to produce for you. And then you need to be able to distinguish between parallel production. If you still want to be doing convention, okay, how do you want to manage your convention product and your organic product? Because you cannot process the same day organic produce. You cannot store them in the same place. It involves a lot of planning if you're going to be a processor in organic and you're going to do conventional processing and you're going to do organic processing. Then you need to understand your standard as a processor. You need to really understand your standard very well. All the standards that you work with, you need to understand them very, very well. So we go to the regulation framework governing organic. This is just going to take me 5 minutes because week 3, we are going to dive into the standard, into the regulation fully. We have different legislation. We have the EU, which is a regional standard. EU is a regional standard. It governs the whole EU countries. And then if you are exporting to any of the EU countries, you have to follow the EU regulation. And now there's a new European Union regulation, which will be put into force by next year, which a lot of things has changed. That is where you now have that the farmers can, the buyers or the exporters can no longer have their certificates. The farmers has to have their own certificates now, and then the exporters will have his own certificate. So there is a lot of things that have changed. So you need to understand, where am I sending this product to? Am I selling locally first before I move to the export market? So we have another regulation, which is the FAO and the World Health Organization. We call it the Codex Guidelines. It is not used for certification. It is just a guideline for production. And many people have taken this and with other standards, and then they've been able to develop their own standard, which is now used for certification for their countries or for their region. We have the IFORM standard, which is also not used for certification. Then we have the NOP. The NOP is for the US market, which is a legislation and a standard for the organic market. So if you're selling to United States, you need to follow the NOP standard. We have the Japanese agricultural standard, which is JAS, it's called JAS. Then the benefit of the standard or regional standard compared to national one is that you can trade among each other. Like I said, the East Africa has an organic standard, which is for the whole of East African countries. So within East Africa, they can trade within themselves once you have this certification. You can trade from a product in Tanzania certified as organic from the East African Organic Standard, can be sold in Uganda as organic without any other certification, without any other price of premium, without any other money that you need to pay on it for your products to be sold. Then we have the Pacific Organic Standard. These are private standards. We have the Soil Association, which is the UK. You know, UK is no longer part of EU now. So if you want to export to UK, you need to fulfill the Soil Association standard. You need to use that standard. It's a private standard, basically for the UK. And then we have the Nature Land Standard, which is based in Germany. It's a private standard. They have developed their own standard. But if you are selling to the big EU market, you follow the EU because they are still subject to the EU. Nature Land is still subject to the EU regulations. Then we have the BioSwiss, which is for Switzerland. And then we have the CRAV, which is for Sweden. So we have a lot of private standard, and we have a lot of regional standard also. Then when we talk about the Rainforest Alliance and fair trade, these are ecological and social, fair trade is social certification, which you take for regulation. Rainforest Alliance is more of ecological standard, which you take to control and certify you for the environment. So these are different standards that we have, and depending on your market, we have what we call the local certification, which is for the domestic market, and it is called participatory guarantee system. Participatory guarantee system is for the domestic market, it's for your local market, and it can be also used in the sub-regions or in the regions also, depending on how the trade agreement has been made among each country. So for Ghana, where I am, we have what we call participatory guarantee. It's the acronym is called PGF. For each country, we'll talk about it fully in week 3, and then we can share contact if you don't know of the PGS groups in your country. So you can approach them. You can start with PGS and then convert your farm gradually for the export to market. Okay, any question? Question before we take instruction for week 2.
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry, I've been on and off. Maybe you might have also talked about it. And what is this EcoCert? What is it?
Okay, EcoCert is a certification body. So that's why I said in week 3, we'll be diving into certification a lot. So we will understand in week 3, what is the certification body? It's an organization that is certifying farmers. So some are regional, some are international, some are country-based. So your certification, your country you are exporting to will determine the certification body that you are supposed to use, one. Your buyer can also determine the certification body that you use. Some buyer will tell you that they want this particular certification body. Some will not specify, but the country will determine the certification bodies that are allowed, that are certified under them. And then with the new EU regulations, even the certification body now has to be approved by the EU regulations before they can certify if we are exporting to European Union countries. So we are going to dive into that a lot in week 3, and we are going to talk about the different terms in certification. Have I been able to answer your question? Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I've got a different question here, or I'm not sure whether it's a question or what. It's on the issue of, on the principle of fairness. I think the term fair is relative, isn't it? And fairness can actually, it's not cast in concrete, is it? But it depends from the angle, or maybe from the country or from the nation where you live. I'm not sure. Or it's actually a specific, it's got a specific parameter that this is what is deemed fair and this is not deemed, or this is deemed what is not fair.
Okay, so the principle of fairness is not static, it's flexible in the sense that your country might determine what fairness is in your country. The standard you are working with for export will determine what fairness means to them. Your local environment will determine what fairness. You as an organization needs to determine what fairness means to you. Because if you look at the principle of fairness, it talks about equity, it talks about justice, it talks about fairness, it talks about relationship with your ecosystem, relationship with your global ecosystem. So it involves a lot. So per institution, you need to define what fairness is to you, and per the standard that you are working with, you need to define what fairness is to you. It's not static at all. So it's not like at the principle of health that we know that no use of synthetic inputs. It's like a standard, it's like a regulation under the principle of health. But the principle of fairness, it's flexible. It depends on a lot of other factors. Yes. Have I been able to answer your question?
Yes, sure. It's fully answered. Thank you.
Godwin, your hands are raised.
Yeah, thanks very much for the training, the first section. Then I'm very happy and glad with all what I've learned today and for the past Tuesday and today. Yeah, this my destiny is that I think I'll call it, is it feedback or comments? I just want to thank Khalid for organizing this training, especially in Ghana here. And what I'm suggesting to Khalid is to help us now have understood the organic very well. So I'm going to train my colleague to go into this organic so that it will help us in terms of long life and protecting our land. Because Ghana, we have a virgin lands that we can use as organic lands. I'm pleading with a colleague to talk to our government, Ghana government, for stop importing these chemicals for destroying our land and this thing. That is my suggestion. If a colleague can help me to to do that, I'll be very glad in that. This, because now I've understood organic very well, and I know that organic food is healthier and even protect the family or human being in broad way, or to live long life. So I think that is my suggestion. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you, Godwin. So that expectation that you have from Khalid, if you look at your introductory tab, we have a questionnaire there for the 5 questions. The first one, there's a question on your expectation. So you put that expectation also there, and Khalid will see it, and then we can work with it. Thank you. Samuel, over to you. And that will be our last question.
Okay, I want to know under the organic certification, if you want to export to a different country, doesn't mean you have to gain 2 certificates before you can export. That will be that of the client who is buying from you and the country you are exporting to.
Yeah, the country your client is, your buyer is, will determine the standard that you are going to use to work on your farm. If you are exporting to any EU country now, you are going to use the European Union regulation. If you are exporting to the US, you are going to use the NOP standard to work. What it says is what you are going to follow. And that is what the certification body is going to certify you on. If you are selling in Ghana, you are going to use the ecological organic standard for Ghana, because that is the standard that has been set for Ghana. So your buyer, your client's base determine the standard that you will use if you are doing for export or for the local market. They will determine it. But if you are practicing organic, you can say this is my target is export. Okay, the EU standard is very high, and the biosweet is higher than even the EU regulation. So you can decide to peg your standard, the one you are using, very high, so that any client that comes in, you are able to meet their obligation, because you are already using a standard for your production that is very high. Hope I'm able to answer your
yes,
very well. So we are going to look at standard and certification. That is the whole topic for week 3. So please, any question you have on standard, on certification, write it down. Don't forget, jot it somewhere. And when we come to week 3, we are going to go for it. Husseini, you said if I'm doing organic farming for 20 years, how long will it take my land to be certified as organic farm? Because my farm is already wiki as for export markets. The EU regulation says 3 years. There are other regulations that can say more than 3 years. There are other regulations that are saying that, standard that are saying, even after the 3 years, you need to test your soil. And the residues on your soil will determine whether you can have your organic certificate or you cannot have your organic certificate. So there's a lot of jumping and out into that when you already farming in organic. So we'll talk about that in production next week. Over to you, Ricky. Pinky, over to you.
Thank you, Olaumi. Thank you, colleagues. This has been a very fruitful session. It's good we have had your active participation within the engagement from the debriefing and also the presentations from everyone. As Olaumi has said, and for the work we have done so far, we want to encourage you to still complete your assignments and to upload them to the Moodle platform. And by way of a very quick overview, next week, which is week 2, what we'll now be looking at are the production aspects. We have already been speaking about them to various degree, but we, as was mentioned, must appreciate that the philosophy or the human aspect precedes the practices on the farm and around your enterprise. So next week, we will be looking at the technical or production aspects relating to organic conversion. And you will be receiving quite a few instructions. We will communicate over email and even over the WhatsApp chat, of course, with activities that require you to take time and obtain or interact with material from the Moodle platform. And then, of course, on Tuesday, we will have our synchronous or live session with a recap session planned for Friday next week. So I urge you to complete your assignments so that we are able to make the transition from what we have covered this week seamlessly into week 2. So please mention to your colleagues who have not been able to join the call today the highlights. Of course, the recording will also be uploaded, but we really encourage you to participate actively in this session so that you do not miss any of the material. So apart from that, thank you very much for the attention and participation of everyone who's been active through today's session. There have been excellent presentations, very good inputs and discussions, and we want to look forward to just building up on this when we meet next week. So our timings, as per our discussions, on Tuesday, we will meet at 9 o'clock GMT. So please remember to confirm the timings in your location. And then, of course, we'll have our recap session on Friday at 9 o'clock GMT again. So apart from that, I want to wish you all a good day. Columbus, I don't know if you still have a question. Your hand is up. If that is something from before, Columbus.
Columbus, over to you. Your hand is raised. Can you unmute yourself?
Okay, hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Yes,
Okay.
Columbus, go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to find out how soon can the recording be uploaded? I needed to maybe download it for offline use because I'm actually on my way out to the farm now and there's hardly any network.
So the recordings are always on the e-learning page. So you see a tab, a label saying Zoom recording. So if you click on that, if you look at it, there's a Zoom link already, or there's, sorry, a YouTube. There's a YouTube channel, UHAR, you see UHAR on the e-learning platform. Whenever you see the UR, it is a it will take you to YouTube, and then you can download it and watch.
Yeah, my question really is on how soon can for this